Hey everybody, my name is Annalisa and this is my friend Raeann. Welcome to the Momma Diaries. We are going to talk about a few different topics today. One we're going to talk about is a tribute to our husbands, and then we're going to talk about femininity and how we think that our identities need to be healed, because I think our identities have definitely been wounded. I know mine has. And I think that this conversation could bless you guys today. So welcome. I think before we start, maybe let's turn the camera a little more towards you, because I think your face might be.
You want to scoot in, or do you want to move the camera?
Maybe move it towards you a little bit more. That way we can see a little better. There we go. I think that'll be better. Okay.
Our special guest Achilles.
Yeah, we have our special guest Achilles in here. This is just that's better. Thank you. And this is just a place for us moms to connect. Doesn't matter what lifestyles we come from. I think one thing we can all connect with is that we're all a mom. So hopefully this will bless you, this conversation. And I'd like to get to know her a little bit more and know your love story, and I can share mine.
It's a whirlwind. My love story.
Do you want to share
I was
first?
asking my husband the other day. I was like, okay, I think she's gonna ask me about how we met, and he was like, okay. We had to get our story straight. Okay, well, what can I say? Because it was when you think of those love stories in the movies, I feel like it was one of those crazy love stories. I don't know, out of a movie. We met at work.
Okay. Oh yeah, you did say you guys worked.
I used to be
in the ambulance, right?
I used to be a paramedic before I was a wife and a mom. I was a paramedic, and so I was at a hospital, and he pulled up. It just we saw different crews all the time. But I remember seeing him, and I was like, oh. Who's that guy? Yeah, I was like, oh man, who's that guy? I've never seen him before. Because I worked in a small town in Kings County, Avenel, and so I was at the Hanford Hospital, and so I was like, everybody when you work in a small town.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
you know everybody. And so he actually had been, taking a patient from Fresno. He was a new employee in Fresno to Hanford. So I didn't know him and never seen him before. And so I was like, and so, but his partner was somebody that I knew. And so I went in there and I'm like, who's that? He's like, oh, it's Jonathan. He's new here. And I was like, oh, okay. But at that time, he actually, he was engaged to somebody.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
wow.
He was engaged. I had, I was in a relationship too. And so, we kind of, we did exchange numbers that day at the hospital as friends. And we stayed friends for some time. This was in February of 19. It's not even that long ago, really.
Oh, 2019.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the following month, his engagement actually broke off. And
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, his engagement broke off, and we just continued to be friends. Like I said, I was in a relationship too, and we would hang out all the time, and we started working together. We actually became partners.
Wow.
He took a shift on my shift, and so I was a paramedic. He was the EMT, and so we started to become partners. And when you're in an ambulance for 12 hours, we start to become really close to people, and so him and I got really close. We fell in love really fast.
Wow.
And so
I didn't know that. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was.
This is not staged, by the way. We don't know any of this about each other.
I'm reflecting on it too, and I'm like, oh, it's bad in a way because, like I said, I was in a relationship, and so I did break that off, and I went to Jonathan, and I was like, hey, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I'm in love with you. I want to be with you. It was out of a movie. I'm like, wow. Take me to your. And he played it cool. He was like, yeah, maybe I'm not really in a good place right now, to be in a relationship.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, well,
oh wow,
I don't need any more friends. So
yeah,
see ya, And so literally the next day, he's like, I'm just kidding, And so this was in.
Good for you, man. You let him know right now.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need any more friends. You either want to be with me or you don't, And so this was in July. We officially started dating in July of 19. And by December, I was pregnant with our first son. Wow. So it was fast. It was, it was exhilarating, if you will, but we did some horrible things. At that time, he was the worst, they say the worst kind of Catholic you could be, which is lukewarm, and I remember him, straight up telling me, like, I don't care, I'll deal with God when I see him, basically.
Wow.
And I was like, I had no type of faith at all. I wasn't anything. Like, I believe in God, but like, whatever,
Yeah.
he forgives, saved by grace and faith alone, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like that kind of
Right.
Christian,
I get you.
and
Yeah.
so, he moved out, and that was like really hard on his family. His family they're pretty devout Catholics. And so he moved out. We got a house together, or I had a house already. He moved in with me, and then we had our son. And um, I was just telling my mother-in-law this, like, I can't remember the moment in which we were like, we're gonna be Catholic. Like, it never happened that way. We just did, if that makes sense. I know that, like, my mother-in-law, she and she's taught me to believe, really, she believes, like, through prayer and fasting. And there was a problem in the family. The problem was that her son left his faith. He moved out. We're living in mortal sin. We have a child now, and there was a problem in the family. And unfortunately, it was me kind of at the time. And I know that she made a lot of sacrifices for God to open our hearts, and He did.
That's amazing.
And
wow.
And through His will, we were married in the church, and in November. So our son was born in September, and we were married in the church in November.
Wow. Of when your son was born?
Yeah, so he was 3 months old when we got married in the church. And I had no idea. Like, I wasn't even Catholic.
Oh, not yet?
No, I wasn't Catholic yet. But my husband was like, I have one requirement, and that's that I want to be married in the church, right? And I was like, okay, like, whatever you want, So we actually didn't know this at the time, but we had got married in the courts earlier in the month. Then we went to the courthouse, and then we later learned, like, you didn't need to do that because the marriage to the church is valid either way, legally as well.
Yeah.
So, we got married in the church in November.
Wow.
So, we've been married 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have 3 kids.
That's wild. That's wild.
As closely
so
as
we're
we
like,
could have them, we've had them.
We're like the same then, because we'll be married 3 years in July.
Okay, yeah. We,
wow.
2020, right?
Yeah, 2020, right?
Yeah,
no, yeah, because
my
Aramatha
son
will
born
be
9/20.
Yeah.
We got married in November of 2020. Yeah.
Wow.
So
my husband's be like, you remember our date, right? I'm listening to this. Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, you're like, yeah. I have so many dates now. I've got 3 kids. Like, all the dates and your marriage, and my husband even keeps track of, like, the day we started dating.
That's so beautiful.
July 2nd.
Sweet.
Wow. It's like one of his passwords. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah, I was like, what date is that? He's like, this is the day we started dating. I was like, oh, wow. Shit, okay. I didn't know that one, but thank you. Yeah, he likes to keep track of stuff.
That's sweet.
He's not the kind of husband that forgets your birthday.
That's nice. No. That's sweet. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was like, and I had a lot of trouble with that for a while because I always wanted a wedding, and we didn't get that. The reason we didn't get that was because of COVID, really.
Yeah, I remember that. You're right.
But it was just God's will. It had to be. And I've accepted that now, that it was God's will to have us married in that way, because our souls were in jeopardy.
Yeah.
We were living in mortal sin, a practicing Catholic. My husband, was, premarital sex and living with me and all the things, and what did it was the boundary that my in-laws had with us. They were very, they held their boundary, and I think I've learned is important for your kids. You can't bend because of their faith and their boundary and everything. It led us back home to the faith, both of us. Wow. If they were just like, whatever makes you happy, then we'd probably still be living in sin. And so it was God's will. It was God's will for us to butt heads with his parents and to not understand, and it was God's will to bring us back home to the church.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, my husband, was before, as he would say, would deal with God when he saw him, and now is like on fire.
It's amazing. Wow.
He is
That's amazing.
all about getting his family to heaven, and it's just
Wow.
it is amazing.
A huge 180 or
Yeah.
360, however that saying goes. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Through grace, and I know 100% through my mother-in-law's prayers
Wow.
and sufferings and sacrifices. I've seen her do it, you know, multiple times.
Wow.
You know, when there's an issue in the family, I've seen how, you know, she does it, and I started to do it myself, and it works.
Wow.
You know, God hears our prayers, you know,
Yes.
but you have to be steadfast and be
Mhm.
willing to stand up for what's right.
Yeah.
And,
Moral courage, right?
Moral
It's
courage.
so hard.
It is.
It's so hard.
It is.
But it's true.
And it's really hard, especially for me too, because my family, you know, on my side, they're all Protestants.
Mm.
And a lot of times, you know, we'll conflict on things. And
Yeah.
my moral courage is lacking severely because I'm not as strongly educated. You know, as somebody like my mother-in-law, who's very well educated, she can evangelize her way up and down this entire house. You know, me, I'm a little more like, you showed me the faith, I couldn't deny it.
Yeah.
That's all it took. It's not like Catholicism was the only church I've ever been introduced to. I mean, I was basically raised in many different faiths. I mean, I was exposed to Jehovah's Witness type of faith, you know, Protestantism.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Baptist, even.
Wow.
So I've been exposed to many
interesting
churches, but when I was exposed to the Catholic Church, it was one of those things. I was like, you can't deny this.
What was it for you that made you feel like this is it? Like,
it was the Eucharist.
How?
I would say it was the Eucharist because when I would went to a church, a Protestant church. It was like one of those mega churches. I think it's on Willow. I can't remember the name of it.
Celebration or something?
I can't remember.
I don't know, but I know you mean.
Yeah,
there's those
like
mega things in
People's
Church.
Not People's, no.
Okay.
That church is so beautiful though. Like from the outside, like the grass is so green, it's so enticing, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but you're missing Jesus. So I remember I went with my nephew when he was staying with me, and it was nice because you know you drop your kid off at daycare, little kids program they have, and you go and you sing and you worship and whatever. And it is a form of praising God. It is a form of praising God, but it's not the true sacrifice of worship. And so I remember them passing around like little, you know, plastic cups of juice, and you get your little host, your piece of bread, and you're like, this is Jesus, woohoo! You know, and it's like, yes. But when I came into the Catholic Church, my husband, his mom was really trying to like get him to like, okay, you're leading a life of sin, but like you can still fix this. I remember she would always encourage us, like, get to mass, you know, even if your schedules are busy. She would always be sending us like, well, we can't, we don't get off work until this time or whatever. Oh, there's a mass at 6:30, you know, here.
Wow, she
was like really pushing it, you know. And so I remember she did that one night, and she sent us to the Newman Center.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. And so we get
really
there.
Pretty. It's like
little. It's like 6:30 at night. We like just got off work. We're like, okay, like we're here, like whatever. For my husband, I'm like, I'll do anything for you, right?
And you weren't really Catholic yet.
I wasn't Catholic at all. Okay. And so, and this is another thing. Now that I'm saying it out loud, he was receiving Jesus in a state of mortal sin, which is really bad. But so it came time for communion, and he was like, okay, when you go up, you know, cross your arms, and he'll just give you a blessing, and then whatever. Okay. So I go up, and you know, and it was the deacon. He gave me the body of Christ, and he gave me the blood of Christ, and you know, and I went and sat down. I was like, well, and I told my husband, I'm having like palpitations, like I feel like I don't feel right. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, I received communion. He's like, you received communion? And I was like, hey, you can't do that. And he like got like, you know, and I was like, why? Like it freaked me out. I started crying. I was like, I don't feel good. Like I don't feel right, you know. And I was like getting really upset. And
Oh my God. I
yeah,
want to cry.
yeah, he was like, you can't do that.
Wow.
Like, you're not Catholic. And like, he wasn't upset with me, but he was like shocked. He was like, I told you, just cross your arms. And I was, he's like, you didn't listen. You know? And so right in that moment, I felt what I did wrong. You know?
Wow, you felt real contrition.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And so, you know,
Wow.
his mom continued, you know, just to bring the information. And then
Wow.
finally, I convinced my husband to go to confession. I was like, come on, like, just go. Like, what, you know, whatever. Like, just go. It'll make her happy. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And so we went to Kingsburg because at that time during COVID, like, no churches were open except for this little parish in Kingsburg. This Father Beaumont was really, you know, he was not going to stand down. He was, you know, celebrating the sacraments. And my husband went to confession and he came out and his mom was, you know, he's like, I wasn't absolved. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I wasn't forgiven.
Wow.
And his mom was like, yeah. She's like, I've seen that one coming, you know, because what was the problem? Well, the problem was he wasn't going to change.
He wasn't willing.
You know, we lived together.
But you were married, right?
Not in the church. No, we weren't married yet at this time.
Oh, so you received the body and blood of Jesus before?
Mm-hmm. Before we were married.
Wow.
Before, like, I had my son, everything. Like, when we were just dating.
Oh, this was okay. So rewind a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so
I thought this happened after you got married.
No.
Whoa.
This was before. So this is what led us
and before
into,
you were pregnant.
This is what led us into the church. Yeah.
Okay.
So so she was like, yeah, well, you know, no, I had to be pregnant because we were living together.
Oh, okay.
She was like, yeah, well, he said that if I want to receive absolution, but like we have to live apart. Or we have to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'm not really ready to get married. You know, I was like 23.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to get married. Like,
okay.
Thanks. You know,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And
wow.
so he was like, okay, like whatever you want. I don't care. Whatever you want. And but that really sat on me. Like, he's not forgiven. You know,
especially in the Protestant view.
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
we just say, I'm sorry, God, and we're forgiven. We're saved by grace, right?
Yeah, I was like, well,
it's very different. It's true.
Tell me. I was like really sad on it. I was like, you're not forgiven.
It's offensive, huh?
Yeah.
If you don't understand. Yeah.
And so, yeah, his mom said, yeah, you know, you guys, you're living in mortal sin. They wouldn't even come to our house.
Wow.
That was their boundary. Like, they held that boundary. Like, I can't come to your house. You're living in a state of mortal sin. Wow. And that wasn't just with her own son. I see her do that with everybody.
Wow.
You know, like she has a boundary.
She was very serious.
And
just
so,
about her faith in general. Wow.
That moral courage not only worked, it's the grace of her moral courage worked its way through us. I've seen it work its way through her daughter and her family and so many people.
My gosh, thank you for sharing this. When my husband listens to this, because I think that's where I'm not trying to sidetrack. But yeah, thank you for sharing this because it is hard to have moral courage with family.
Yeah, you have to. And at first they will be offended.
Very, very hard.
At first I was offended. You know, they're going to be offended. They may just totally freak out and lose it. I had moments like that with her too. Yeah. You know, but hindsight now, I'm like, oh, thank you. Wow. Thank you for that. You know.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it ended up coming about that so my son was born, and then our lease for our house was up. And at that time, my husband was in paramedic school, but he wasn't a paramedic yet. And I had a traumatic birth, an emergency C-section, and I wasn't able to go back to work. And he didn't make enough money, and we couldn't keep the house. It was just, I lived there for 5 years by myself. I was like Miss Independent.
Right.
You know,
boss woman.
INDEPENT. You can't tell me nothing. Yeah. I don't need no man. That was the kind of woman I was. And I couldn't work.
It feels good though when we're single living that way, doesn't it? Because I was there for a little bit. It felt really good.
Yeah.
But then it's like, wow, how sad.
Yeah. I couldn't work. I had to stay home because I had to recover. Yeah. And my husband at that time, he didn't make enough money. An EMT salary is minimum wage.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so he had a big truck, and we had this house, and all the bills that come with having a house, and I had my own car payment, and there was just a lot of things, and like, what are we gonna do? And so it was like, well, let's ask your parents for help. And so we asked his parents, can we stay with you for a little while, until we get on our feet? And they're like, of course.
And you weren't married yet, right?
We were not married yet. And they're like, of course you can stay with us, but you will sleep here and you will sleep here.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You're not sleeping together in my house.
That makes sense.
And I was like, oh, these people again, and I like really resisted.
Wow,
that
must have been hard. You just had your baby.
That
must have been really hard.
Yeah, our baby was a newborn, and I slept in a different room than my own husband, know. And so somehow, I don't even know how I ended up agreeing to like do that, but I did.
To go through emotionally,
I think, and even like reflecting on it now, I think I was even the one that was more like pushing us to move with his parents, because I knew like that was our only option. But it was really hard for me because, like I said, I was.
That's hard.
I was a provider. I was, I didn't rely on anybody. I'd been on my own since I was 18. Like I did not want to go there, but I did, and we lived there for a year and a half. So 3 months. 3 months. No, it wasn't 3 months, because my son. I think we only were there a month, maybe less than that, before we got married. We went and we got married legally, and we thought like, okay, we're good. Yeah. And she's like, no. Yeah. Oh no. No, not yet. Yeah. And so then, like I said, we later found out like we didn't even need to do that, know. And so we went and saw Father Pat, the Holy Spirit, and he was a trusted by Jonathan. Jonathan had a good relationship with him. That's good. And he asked me. He was like, are you willing to raise your kids Catholic? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I guess. And I just signed a paper and everything, like, because I wasn't Catholic. I didn't even know like you let him take the kids to mass and teach them the faith and all these things. And I'm like, sure, like whatever, if he wants to. So I signed the document, and then my parents had actually come up that day because they thought we were getting married. And he was like, oh no, not today. I'm like, my parents are here. Like, they're not from over here. Like, they drove all the way over here. And he's like, yeah, not today. Come back. I think it was like next week or something like that. And I was so disappointed. Another week of being in separate rooms and all this stuff. And so we went back the next week, and it was just his mom and dad and my mom and dad, my stepdad, but I call him dad, and my father. His grandparents on FaceTime. Yeah. And we received the sacrament of marriage. Well, he did. Oh, that's true. He did. Our marriage was validated in the church, and I received what they call a dispensation. Wow. So I was like, cool. Like, all I could care about was like, cool, now we can sleep together. Like, I can cuddle with you now. It was like one of my favorite things was in the night, laying with him, the baby. Yeah. And so, finally, and that was like, I feel like the doorway. And so I hold, a lot of like, when I reflect on that time, like sometimes I get really upset. Especially when I go to other people's weddings. I'm like, where do you get that? I don't even have any wedding photos. Yeah. I was postpartum. I couldn't even wear a dress that was my own. I was borrowing a dress. It was just not even like a wedding dress or nothing. It was just an everyday like dress from my mother-in-law's closet, because I didn't at that time have any clothes that fit me. And I don't even remember it. I was like so tired. I wasn't wearing any makeup. Like, I was just there, And so for a long time I was upset about that. And like I told you in the message, it's understandable though, because what are we taught in the movies, right? That things should look a certain way. Your engagement should be this way. You should have fun. Where was my bridal shower? Like, I didn't get anything, right? Yeah. And my husband and I were talking about it the other day. Well, first it was a friend of mine. I shot her wedding, and I remember like telling her, like, your wedding is gonna be so beautiful. Like, I'm so jealous of you. She's like, why? She's like, you receive the sacrament. That's all that matters. you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess, you know? So that little bit, like, that took a little bit. She told me that. And then I had a conversation with my husband the other day, and I was just like, you know, something I've been praying a lot is like that I just accept God's will for my life. I just pray that all the time. Just like, God, just help me to accept that.
That's beautiful.
You know,
like
whatever that may be, that you will for my life, just help me to accept it, you know?
I like that.
And yeah, I kind of came to that like conclusion, like, wow, like we're living such a beautiful life. Like we practice our faith. We're handing down the full faith to our children.
Yeah.
Our kids are not gonna struggle with knowing all these different things and Protestantism and all these things that are going on in the world. They're gonna get the full faith. They have a chance.
Exactly.
You know, we have this beautiful life. We have our little house. You know, our kids are healthy. Like we have each other. My husband has a good job. Like he works so hard.
Amazing.
And I'm like, I'm mad about a wedding. Like, man, and it's like, you know, it's still bothersome. But I told him, I was like, I need to like, this is the part where I said, Lord, help me to accept your will for my life. This is the part where I do it. You know, like I accept the will. You brought us into the church and then you open the gates.
Wow.
I don't even remember when I became Catholic. I really don't.
I was gonna say, so how does that work when you're married but you're not Catholic? Do you still go through confirmation as an adult?
Yeah.
So you still
I just started like taking classes.
Wow.
And my husband was like, you know,
and you don't know how you got there?
Not really. I remember the information was presented to me, like, hey, like they have this class on this day if you want to go. I'll watch the kid. I'll watch the baby if you want to go. And I was like, okay, sure. And my husband was like, you know, he never like wanted to push me into anything ever. He never was like, I want you to be Catholic. Nothing. Not until like I was like already deep in it. He was like, hey, like if you want to go, I would love to go too, because like I'm pretty like I don't know nothing about nothing. You
That's
know?
nice. You did together.
Yeah.
That's so nice. Oh wow, that's cool. We did too.
I was like, I don't know. I guess, you know. And so we started going Thursday nights to RCIA in Kingsburg. In COVID times, which was like unheard of to find an RCIA, but I got it in.
Wow, and, that was the priest that kept everything open.
Yep.
Praise God for him.
So yeah, it was like every Thursday night we would drive all the way to Kingsburg.
God bless that man. Wow.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. I pray for Father Beaumont all the time because yeah.
And those volunteers, right? Because everybody was so scared at that time.
Yeah. So everybody there was probably I think about 10 of us.
Wow.
We're all adults.
Yeah.
All adults. There was one that was like just going to be confirmed or something, but we're all receiving some sacrament of some sort. Mine and one other's, Mia, she's actually a good friend of mine now. We received the full like baptism, confirmation.
It's the first time you were baptized.
Holy Communion.
Wow.
The whole thing. Yeah, her and I both.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What Easter, a treat. Seriously, like being baptized as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, that's amazing to me. I mean, because you think about babies when they're baptized, but what a gift when you're baptized as an adult when we've done so much wrong already. You know what I mean?
I remember telling Father, like, I feel like I need to go to confession. He was like, no. He's like, it's gonna be washed away.
That's amazing.
And I was like, I feel like I want to go.
That's amazing.
And so I've actually been recently learning about like doing like a general confession. I feel like I might want to do a general confession one day.
Wow.
And but yeah, he was like, you don't have to. I was like, really?
I was like
kind of intrigued by it. I was like, not know that. I was like, I'm just gonna be forgiven. And he was like, yeah, you're just gonna be forgiven. I was like, okay, I'm here for it. But you know,
wow.
And it was nice. The person I had, you know, chosen to be my sponsor was somebody that was a family friend, and she, you know, was living the faith that I thought was something that I would want to live. You know, they seemed like very traditional Catholics. They had a large family. She knew what she was talking about, you know. And I asked her, like, will you be my sponsor? Will you be my godmother? And she was like, hands down, yes. Awesome. But I'm going to go with you to RCIA. And I was like, okay. And it's because the differences in the Novus Ordo and the traditional Latin Mass, there's some differences. And then because the faith has become so watered down, when it came to me receiving RCIA, it was very watered down.
Interesting.
And she wanted to make sure that I got more than that.
Oh, that's good.
And so she would go with me every week with my husband. We'd all go together.
So nice.
And after the class, then we'd sit together and go, okay, but I know you just learned this, but let's really break that down more, you know. And so that led us to the traditional Latin Mass. Really,
sorry,
baby
farting over here. Ooh, that's sticky too. Sorry. Wow. That's really bad. Sorry.
You're fine. I have 3 kids.
Maybe because I have a boy. I'm not used to these farts. My daughter didn't fart like this.
Oh my gosh.
That's sorry, kitties. It's okay. It's human. It's normal. My farts stink too. Wow.
Yeah. Well, not just her, but my mother-in-law too. Like they were going to the Latin Mass, but yeah, it all just kind of been like, okay, like no sort of for us just kind of seemed like it was just watered down. And when we learned about more, then we were like, okay, we can't deny it. I can't receive Jesus on my hands. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so when I got baptized, it was like a hamster wheel of like worldly, feminist, Miss Independent, liberal even. I would even call myself a liberal before, to a traditional, feminine Catholic life.
That's amazing.
It was really just crazy. And I was reflecting on all of this before I came here with my mother-in-law on the couch, and her mother-in-law, Nana. She's in town visiting, and then she asked me, "Oh, what do you think did that?" And I was like, "Well, I think for one, I think it was your prayers and your fasting and your suffering. Wow. I know it was. Yeah. But 2, just grace. Even I've been so resentful all these years of our wedding for whatever reason. And then when I finally was like, no, it had to be God's will for these reasons. Now I'm able to see like how beautiful it all is. Yeah. It's really a shame. And this just happened the last few days when I was starting to discuss with my husband things that we were going to discuss today, that I was able to be like, no, it makes sense.
Wow. I'm so glad that God brought that. Like, who would have thought like us having this conversation would bring you like this, if I'm saying it right, like a deeper healing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who would have thought? And it was the Holy Spirit, was God, you know? Absolutely. And I think, you know, oh, hi. I was way back here. Yeah, this is live, but as everybody, if anybody watches these videos, it's not perfect. It's not staged. There's no intermission button. So we're going to take a break because he pooped. I need to change him. I'm going to refill my tea. If you want to stick around, we'll be back in like a good 3 to 5 minutes. But yeah, we'll be right back. So stay with us. We can leave it rolling. It's no big deal. I don't think there's a way to pause it.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
So we're just going to leave it as is. This is real, authentic mom life, guys. If you have kids, you'll understand. We'll be right back. Yeah, if you want more tea, because it's probably cold by now. Do you want a new tea bag?
No, I'm still enjoying it. It's totally fine.
It should be hot still. I'm just going to change them real quick. Wow. It's so nice getting to know you that way. You have a beautiful story. Absolutely amazing.
I know. Now I need to hear your story because I can talk about myself all day long.
No, it's okay. All right, Papas. Time to change, you little boy. You stinky little boy. It's okay. Pooping is good. It's good for you. Let's change you.
My sister-in-law sent me a text. She said, "When you leave the kids with me," and it's like they're like dancing like crazy.
Oh, I'm glad they're having fun. That's good. Okay, let's change you. I'm glad you pooped. That's good. Here. Oh, how funny. We can turn off this microphone because the camera hears everything about his poop.
Oh, I love this. That's so cute.
Thank you. Okay, we can have some snacks too. All right. Okay. Amateur stuff. I don't know what I'm doing.
I love these. I want to get me some for
They're
when
really
I'm filming. Like
$22, y'all. If you ever want some, I'll pay Amazon.
oh, Amazon.
Amazon.
Even.
So, and it came with 2. Super inexpensive. Oh yeah. So anyway, thank y'all. Thank you guys for waiting. If you did wait.
Look at his hair. He's gonna have like not even like super curly hair like you have.
You know, it's very flat right now, and I
Yeah.
washed it yesterday. It was very curly.
Was it?
Very curly. His hat flattens it out. So I don't know what type of hair he's gonna have. We'll see.
Oh,
I don't know.
you don't look like your sister, huh? You look very different.
He does.
You have your own face.
He does.
You have your own face.
But back to your story though. So you were confirmed in Easter of 2021, right? Or wait, because 2020 you got married. No, November of 2020.
November.
So
Easter of 2021. Yeah.
You got confirmed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay.
Yeah, baptized,
And
confirmed,
and
first Holy
received.
Communion.
How was that when you received finally in that state of grace, you know?
Yeah. It was really emotional for me. But I felt like at the same time, I have, like I said, my family is Protestant, but they're really supportive too. And so, like, my mom came, my grandmother was there, and it was like a little strange. Like, I felt, I almost felt like coming into the church like distanced me from them a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a really emotional night. I remember I was like kind of quiet, and my mother-in-law actually threw like a big party for me, like beforehand. So before we went to the Easter Vigil, like she put on a big dinner for me, and my god families was there, my parents, his family, like everyone showed up, to
That's
be like,
beautiful.
because it's a big event.
It is. It's a big deal.
We do the same thing for the kids when they get baptized, So yeah, it was really emotional. But I don't know. It was just really like strange and really emotional. But it was the same feeling I got at the Newman Center.
Wow.
Like that, just like piercing, like heart feeling of like. And that's why I always say, like, when people are like, oh, well, you've been exposed to all these different churches and all this time, like, what made you stick to Catholicism? If anything, like, stick with it. I'm like, because you can't deny it. When you learn the history of the church, when you receive the body of Christ, and what's even more intense, I was telling Jonah, my husband, I've never received the blood of Christ as a Catholic, but I received it that day at the Newman Center when I received accidentally, if you will. And I told him maybe it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was.
Because since COVID, they haven't been, administering the blood of Christ in the church. So I just think that's interesting that I was able to receive the blood of Christ, even though I wasn't Catholic and it was like a big no-no, I've done it. I just think that's interesting.
It was God's will. God's will.
Yeah, and he pierced my conscience that day.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
I think that was the beginning, really, when I really reflect on like, where did all this start? My mother-in-law was asking me that too before. Well, what do you think did it? And I was looking at her. I was like, you know, girl, you did it. No, God did it, but she, like any good saint.
Wow. That's amazing, your story. Thank you for sharing it and for being so open and transparent and, just being honest. That's how many of us hide behind facades, because we're afraid of judgment or judgment of the world or judgment from other Catholics. Like, you didn't live holier than thou before you got married. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he didn't. And, my husband, I know he does now realize, like, especially as he's like started to learn, like he's, going to men conferences now and he's starting to learn more. He gets a little scared. I used to think that I would deal with God when I saw him. Like, how could I think that, you know?
Yeah. That's a scary thought. Right? It's a tactic of the enemy, literally, right? Our pride, thinking that, oh, we'll deal with God. He's going to deal with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how it all came together,
That's
but
amazing.
it did. And so even then, like, I tell people, like, my son's dating this person, but I don't really like her. Where's that? Oh, I don't know. She's not Catholic. It's not like, well, I wasn't Catholic. You know, the best thing you can do for any family member or anybody that you're like, oh no, they're being led away, is to just pray for them. Because I led Jonathan away from the church for sure. And because he was soft and lukewarm already as it was, you know, that didn't help. So, but yeah, we were led back for sure.
Wow.
And that's why I've come to terms with like the way that we got married, is because it's like, I had to be God's will. God said, just come into the church, just be here.
That's the biggest gift.
And I will bless you.
Yeah.
And he did.
He has. Absolutely. You're staying at home with your kids, right?
Yeah.
And raising them.
We
Your
lived with
husband's
his
a good
parents
job.
for, it was just over a year we ended up living with his parents. I had my second daughter, and you know, even though it wasn't ideal to be living with his parents, not for any like bad reason, but just because like you want your own home, you know.
Yeah,
but again, God's will, I needed to be around somebody that could take care of me 24/7, because when I had my daughter, I had to have a C-section again, and like I needed somebody that would be there for me, and his parents were there.
Wow.
You know, to care not only for my son, but for me around the clock while I recovered.
Wow.
You know, and then it was just a few months. See, she was born in September, June, I think it was. We moved out. We got our own house.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got our own little house now for a couple years now.
Wow. And so 3 years total you've been married since 2020. Wow, that's amazing. I love your story. I think it's beautiful. And sometimes I think that not that the stories where people meet and they do everything right before getting married aren't beautiful. They're beautiful stories too. But I feel like the stories that are like tainted with so much bad, and then you see how much grace, like Saint Faustina says, like in the confessional at St. Joachim's here, it says, you know, something around the lines like, I grant the most mercy, like to the greatest of sinners. And it's so beautiful when you see that reflected in stories like that. You know what I mean? And to give other people hope out there that like, hey, if you're in a place where you're living that way, she's living proof that, hey, God can bless you and you can be happy and things can change and your conscience can be healed and you can feel at peace within yourself and peace with others, you know? Well, maybe not at peace with family members that don't get the Catholic faith, but at least with peace, peace in yourself.
You know, and even the Catholic faith has taught me so much about what it is to be like a member, a part of Christ.
Yeah.
You know, and like I used to be such a hot-headed person before. Like
I can't imagine you that way.
I was known as, you don't mess with her. Okay, like that was
I cannot
me. Like
see you like that at all.
I was hot-headed. I used to fight with my sister so much. I have not fought with my sister since I came into the church.
Wow.
And it's not because like we're any closer, we're still not, but it's because I have like some kind of grace that flows through me that when things happen,
it's just filtered.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay.
The grace of the Holy Spirit, right, that comes upon us in baptism, confirmation.
I'm not the same person. My mother-in-law says all the time, you are not the same person I met when Jonathan brought you home.
She's like, thank goodness.
To her, yeah, she's probably like,
maybe a little bit.
She's like, yeah. How many sleepless nights, Lord, do you want me to give up? Yeah, I don't know what she did.
That hard for her too, though, because it's your son, you know, and it's your child.
I remember when we moved him out of his parents' house, like they obviously weren't supportive, right? Like we were doing something really bad, and they just sat on the couch crying. And it was like you had to walk past the couch to get to his room and get his things. So it was like every time we walked back, it was like a piercing end of just like,
gosh, that was so painful.
You know, and
you've really been through quite an experience, like especially postpartum, emotionally, mentally. I mean, in every direction, it seemed like your pride's getting stabbed, right? Or I don't want to speak for you, but I'm just thinking how I would feel. My pride, my ego being stabbed, my having to be obedient to these people. I can't sleep next to the person I have a baby with. You know what I mean? That's really hard. But you got through it.
I got through it.
That's just
and looking back, I remember feeling so angry in all of those times. But I look back on it now, I'm not angry anymore. Like I don't know why I was so angry then. But I think a big part of it, I had to go on. I had to move on and to be able to look back on it and go, oh, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of that. You know, even though I couldn't see it then. It's just like when my husband, does something with our son and he calls his dad and he goes, Dad, man, I didn't understand when I was little what you were saying, but I understand now. I'm sorry, Dad. It's the same thing. I hear him tell his dad all the time, I'm sorry, Dad. It's the same thing. It's like, sorry, God. I'm sorry to my mother-in-law. I'm sorry to my mom. All the people that, I hurt or I was cold with or disrespectful to, all the things.
Yeah.
You're able to see it now in the back.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. It's very beautiful and inspirational. And, I think we'll probably end this first podcast here and we'll make another one that'll air tomorrow. If you want to hear anything about my husband and my story, I love hers though. And no, I'm glad because yours is powerful. So we'll end it here, but God bless you. Please share if you feel that there's a woman in your life that could benefit from listening to her message, listening to her and her husband's story. If you have a son, right, that may have left the church and you need to inspire another mom that's suffering, please share because there's a lot of grace and power in Raeann's story and Jonathan, her husband. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. It's especially the part where you received God, not even being Catholic, right? And it just goes to show you guys, that it doesn't matter who we are. God will get us if he wants to get us, if we're willing to at least meet him halfway. You know what I mean? If we're at least willing, then he will snatch us real quick in grace and love and gentleness, and he'll draw us. Yeah. He'll draw us forth. So God bless you guys. We're going to end it here. And then, if you want to see the second episode tomorrow on me and my husband's story, you can see it then. God bless you. Take care. Bye. I think we can end it. We'll figure it out. Bye. I'm not sure if it's that button. What does it say?
Do you want to stop streaming?